Oh, we have so much to discuss today. It's Susan. Hi, hello, what's happening? Okay, so we're going to start with the ego. And this is going to require you to understand a little bit about how the ego functions. There are three ways in which the ego will function, and that's based in where your heart is at, right? So if your heart is ready to hear this, then you're going to be excited about this information. If you are not yet ready for this information, you will shy away from it and you will think, what does she think she is? Oh, she thinks she's there. She's not there. If you're really far from your heart, you might start to shame yourself and think, I am not that. I'm so far from that possibility. Go back a little further. I'm individuals. You might be like, fuck her and fuck you attitude. Yeah. So it just depends on where you're sitting at yourself, with yourself. I am not here to tell you I'm perfect. I'm so far not perfect. Ego, by the way. I'm just here to explain the information which you, if you're watching this, has asked because you push play. And if you're pushing play, you're playing in my world, and that is your world too. And I'm in my world, I am a 3D holograph of a very small molecule of energy that has come to know itself. So you are a small molecule that is curious about yourself, want to know how all of this fakash came together. So it starts off with a story of why we forget who and what we are and where we come from. And only you can identify that, as well as everything else that you want to know about yourself. I am here to just point out some of the reasons why we forget. So I was like, why does it feel like every day? And by the way, it hasn't stopped. Just not as much asleep as it was. But I'm getting into some really amazing deep stuff. So that's super cool. Why does it feel like Groundhog Day? Or why do we feel like we don't even know about the light in which we are, period, right? So we place things. So the ego does funny things. It places things outside of ourselves to have a conversation with us about something that's trying to hide. So the ego has been around for a very long time. This planet system is run on ego. Some of us with really amazing big hearts, we also have an ego, but we don't get to see it show up unless it's how we talk to ourselves. And you always know when you're talking to the ego because it presents certain elements. First of all, number one element, you don't remember who you are. You don't remember that you are light. Now, if I'm speaking to you and you just aren't light, then this is not a conversation for you. But if you somewhere inside yourself think, I might be light, I might be from the light, whatever that means, right? Then what is in the way of you knowing that truly is your ego. And the ego is scared. The ego is afraid that you're going to find out. Oh, sorry, I've got like whomping pain through here. The ego is afraid that you're going to find out about it and that you're going to hate it, reject it, not love it anymore. And how it presents itself is it projects out through free will and through master manifester self, right? It projects out into itself a reality system individually. That's your individual ego. It then connects to a network of collective ecosystems, and they're projecting out, yeah. And where does this manifesting energy arise from? Like, how could an ego create so much reality system? So that would be this light we're talking about. So the light is being utilized to project out outside of itself, this through the ego, and the ego is male and female, and they've been playing out a role. They've been playing out a battle, if you know, it's the best way to describe it, and they've been playing out this inability to know itself, plain and simple. To know yourself would mean that you wouldn't have anger around it. You would have love, right? Because we are love. Unless you don't think you're love, and you don't think you're worthy of love. And that is the ego. The ego is the only one that doesn't think it's worthy. And then the ego could be, well, of course I'm worthy of everything. I take what I want. That's also ego. That's not the worthiness I'm talking about. The worthiness I'm talking about is when you know that you are connected to this light, and you can call it anything. You can call it God, Buddha, this amazing energy that's part of all of creation, that's filled with love, this abundance and this grace of love. And as long as our ego denies that within us, then we play in the dark, in the shadow parts of ourselves, and with self projecting out as other. And that is the story of the ego. Now, we all have ego. I have ego running right now as we're speaking. But my ego is learning that I love it, that I'm not here to destroy it. I'm not here to harm it. We're playing enough together now that it understands that my job as the light, which is my heart, is here to bring things that have been distorted to the light. Now, how do we understand what goes to the light? See, if we're not choosing to know thyself, we don't know that the world in which lives outside of ourselves has been created by us. Here's a way to identify it. How many times different faces, different places, different names, different experiences create the same outcome result? And we're going to talk about that today, because I've got a great example of how for a very, very long time I have been living in secondary position. I did not step into primary until this week. And it was a very painful process to understand that I am worthy of stepping into primary. Painful for my ego, because it did not feel worthy. So my world in unworthiness consisted through many aspects: in relationships with others, in who I put up on a pedestal, who I made important in my life, who I thought were leading me to myself. All of those people held a higher position in my life. You might know it in relationships to people leaving you, or having bosses that you can't stand but you need the job. The stories are endless. I have endless stories, and I'm going to share these stories with you today and moving forward to help us all identify the ego, which is running in male and female energy. And what really helps heal that is when you go inside self to the ego that's male and to the female ego, and you identify what has kept you guys apart. What are your biggest fears about each other? And be honest. And then you don't have to know how to fix this. We don't have to be scientific engineers in the understanding of matter, which is what we're talking about here in the bigger picture, right? Is matter. How much we matter. How much we affect matter. How much we are the matter in which we see, how much matter is separate from us, or how much matter is the totality of us. Kind of fun. So, it's about identifying the ego first. So I wanted to start with the ego as an identification process for you guys, because this may be the point where you get off the ride. And that's okay. There's no ride that anyone needs to take. There's no one way to discover your ego. There's no, I don't have the answers and say, oh, I don't have an ego, but you have an ego. It's the human ride. It's a human journey that if you are here in a human body, you might be playing from an ego standpoint. And that ego standpoint is identifiable. That's the cool news about all this. It's totally identifiable, and it's within your grasp. You don't have to learn anything more. You don't have to be anything more. You can literally take the sum total of who you are and work with what you've got to really change up, create anything you've ever wanted to create, or it's really just putting you back into the position of primary. And primary is important because it requires you to stay in heart and awareness. So heart and awareness are really what you already are, but you forgot that. And you forgot that because the ego has been in primary, and then the ego puts other people in primary positions, like we put a president in primary position of our government system, right? And there's a part of you that says, I do not agree with that, but I don't know how to affect that change out there because I feel powerless inside here. You only feel powerless when you are not in primary position. Another way to identify if ego is running the show. And some of us are working with some broken egos. Guilty. When I felt out of control, when ego, through a boss or through another, took advantage of my kindness, I would get furious. And I watched how to treat others as more important than self through my family lineage. And I chose friends to reflect value systems of how good I was from their ability to see me as good. And my ego could love you 1 second, walk away and love you from a distance. And I was very proud of that because I'd seen so much disappointment in my life from the ego standpoint. And I just kept going at each relationship with the same tool set, putting them as more important than me. They sat in the position of primary, and I sat in the position of waiting for them to give me this missing piece. And I lived my life like that for a very long time. That is my story. And the weirdest thing was that I loved helping people. But who were people, but parts of ourselves, outside of ourselves, showing up. And I was loving them with the need to get back to self, what I could have just given myself back. But I had an old program system running that was a collective through my mother and my father's lineage. And I see a lot of spiritual workers wanting to help, even to the detriment of themselves. Because the ego is looking to be seen outside of itself. And this is the game we're talking about. There's nothing wrong, good, or otherwise, but it's time to elevate all awarenesses up to the light so we can transform it into acceptance and love, and then we don't have to play out these games that we play out inside of our lives. And then the more extensive part is putting someone in charge, a government system, a presidency, and we give them all the money and all the power, and we play second fiddle to what feels like something outside of ourselves that's more important. So it can go really far out, but let's just work in our primary today. So we identified that I look for my self-worth outside of myself, and it felt really good to help people. And this has to do with feeling unworthy. Dear Mother, Father God, I bring forward myself, my ego, my two little beautiful male and female side, and we all stand before you now to bear witness and to ask for your help. This unworthiness that you presented me with the awareness of is something I know I cannot change without you. In fact, I've tried through every relationship. I tried through every person. I tried to help, never really helping anyone except exhausting myself in the process. Never finding them able to love me more, see me more, put me above them, which is not how it should be anyways. So I went about it in a lot of misinformed ways. I present to you my unworthiness, and I ask that we take it to the light to have it transformed. I want to transform this in my family lineage, all the energy that is part of my energy that has been running on this program system. I ask that it be cleaned and cleared on all levels of existence. I come into my primary world, how I relate to others, how others relate to me, how I have relationships in this primary area. And I say I am worthy of standing in primary and asking you to hold up unworthiness and all the parts in which I'm playing that role in either one side of the coin or the other side of the coin. And I ask that you place light into that unworthiness, place light and transform it into your light, your love, and your vision for what I can be in the name of worthiness. I'd like to see what that looks like in my world. I would love to see what that looks like in my world, and I know asking is how I receive. I now take all the parts, particles, and pieces of me, anything and all things that are playing in the collective consciousness, in this reality system in which I am participating, and all reality systems in which I am participating in this untruth of I am unworthy. And I place it before you to ask for that energy and all parts, particles, and pieces that it is connected to in all reality systems that I exist in. And I ask for that to be clean with the light, clean, cleared, upgraded, retransformed, masterfully manifested into I am worthy of all amazing things. In my collective, I am worthy of all amazing things. I am worthy of your love, and I accept it here now. I am worthy of love on all levels of existence, abundance, beauty, grace, and elegance in all areas in which that unworthiness is now transformed in. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for you providing me this wisdom. My ego says, I love you so much, Mother, Father, God. You are my sunshine, my very sunshine, and I love you every day. You'll always know how much I love you, 'cause I do each and every day. I am worthy. If you are my reflection, you are worthy. If you're an ego driving the ship, go into the side seat. Let your heart that loves you unconditionally be in the driver's seat. We are worthy of amazing. We are amazing. How can we go looking outside of ourselves for everything that we are? It is only the ego that says we're not. It's only the ego that says, who does she think she is? I'm love. I'm a worthy, beautiful being of love. That's who I think and know I am. And my ego, which is played in a collective consciousness, our current consciousness, and a family lineage consciousness, now knows that he and she are worthy. And worthiness feels really good. Breathing into it for the first time, we all get to feel and experience worthiness and love. Beautiful, beautiful love. To our Heavenly Father and Divine Mother, I'm so very, very grateful that I was given this opportunity to come and be the heart of my ego. To be that grain of salt. To remind it in all places and all spaces that it is more than worthy of my love. More than worthy of this reflection. I'm so very, very grateful. And that is the story of ego. See, it wasn't as scary as you thought it was. And it's more exciting than you can imagine. But if I stand before you, then you had the same dream I had, that I did. I could imagine a world filled with love, a world filled with grace, nobility, and elegance. I dreamt it from the moment that I arrived here. And then it felt like a far-reach possibility, for as I looked out into the world, not knowing it was my own reflection, it seemed impossible. But now the impossible is becoming possible. By knowing thyself, knowing what lives in my heart, having an ego that wants to become the impossible. It's really helpful. If you are my reflection, I'm so glad that I could participate in you honoring yourself in a deeper way today. You are worthy. I know it now, and you know it now. And we have no more need to seek it from other. We stay in primary. We stay in our hearts. And we trust in our light that it's transforming everything. We trust in our light family, pardon me, that they are assisting us with this transformation. And that is all I want to say about that. Except you know how I feel. I have so much love for the reflection I see inside of you, inside of me, inside of you, inside of me, reverberating, 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 reverberating.